So if I were to ask you what your ideal Windows laptop would be, I'm sure it won't be a thick and heavy beast. Heck, even gamers wish their machines were thin and light for easy carriage, but technology isn't necessarily there yet. Usually most thin laptops just look the part with design tricks, but then there's LG. Their LG Gram lineup has usually gotten the light part right, but not necessarily the thin, up until now. This is the LG Gram SuperSlim, what the company calls as unbelievably thin, uncompromisingly light, and what I'm going to call as my favorite product of CES 2023. See, with how much I travel, I want a computer that can do most of what I want, but without the heft, and let's just say this machine kind of makes a MacBook Air look bad, but not in everything. Actually, not in most things. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocketnow, and let's dive into our full review. Alright, I'll admit that my bias towards thin and light computers has mainly to do with how my backpack can weigh up to 20 pounds when I travel or commute once you add up all the camera gear. Apple's M2 MacBook Air has really changed the game for me in performance for size to weight ratio, but when it comes to Windows, we're still not there yet. Windows on ARM is still behind, and so you're left with either the choice of going thick and chunky for performance, or thin and light with compromise, or LG's approach, which is sort of in between. Let me start this video by telling you what I like about this computer, and it's clearly got a lot to do with just how thin and light it is. For context, at 10.99 millimeters, it's thinner than the 13-inch MacBook Air, and at just 990 grams, it is also way lighter, all while being larger in footprint than even the larger 15-inch MacBook Air. This is in part thanks to LG's choice for a magnesium alloy instead of aluminum, which has proven to be so strong that this computer even has a mil-spec certification, though it's the reason you'll notice a bit of flex. The result is that this Neptune blue finish doesn't suffer from the typical smudges we get to see on aluminum, and that it doesn't get as cold or warm when you touch it at extremes. It also improves on its competitors in having more than one or two ports. Here we have two Thunderbolt 4 ports on one side and a USB-C port on the other, in addition to a headphone jack. Then this gets the additional plus that when you unbox this machine, you're greeted by a USB-C to Ethernet adapter that we all love at trade shows, in addition to a charging brick that's so small you simply will not debate carrying it. And then another thing that I really like about this computer is the spec sheet. LG sent me the higher tier model, but here your choices are of a 13th generation Core i5 or i7, 16 or 32 gigs of RAM, 512 or 2 terabytes of storage, a very sizable battery that charges pretty quick, in addition to all the latest connectivity and the durability that we're used to in certifications. Now, once you open it up, you won't just notice that it passes the one-handed open test with flying colors, but, well, there's a lot of good at the package. I love IR Windows Hello at the top. It makes the experience of unlocking this laptop one less step in looking for fingerprint scanners, and it's crazy fast at doing it. Then there's the fact that the display under it has an amazing anti-glare coating that makes the experience using this computer in rough environments pretty great. The cherry topper is a keyboard below that's pretty responsive and well spaced out, in addition to a trackpad that I found to be reliable 95% of the time, because the other 5% is Windows not doing its job at handling unwanted touches. And yeah, it's also smaller than average at this price range. But then, right about now, we barely started this video recently, and I'm already starting to get into the super slim parts where I'm mixed about this computer. Listen, it's a gorgeous piece of engineering in so many ways, but I wouldn't call it a computer without compromise. First, let's talk about the pricing and what you get, because between $1,600 and like $2,000, let's just say you might want to grab a MacBook Air once you do a direct comparison. For example, it really starts with the display. I mean, this 15.6-inch OLED panel is gorgeous, and the anti-glare coating does surprisingly well in sunlight, even at just 400 nits. But the problem is that, man, 1080p at this price is just a big no-no. It's really an odd move from LG, considering that other Gram offerings go way beyond the resolution of the competition, though fine with IPS panels. Resolution for me is not just about how crisp the image looks, but about how much you can see on the screen because it gives you more real estate, which in my case is crucial for a computer made for productivity. Also, if you notice that colors are horrible out of the box on the display, make sure you apply all the software updates, and after that happens, enable the newer version of HDR that solves that problem because it's really bad. And yeah, before you ask, this isn't a touchscreen, so there's that. But what is surprising is that these speakers are pretty good and Dolby Atmos certified, but that's so long as the computer is not sitting on your lap. This color has handled months of use well. Second is more a personal preference, but well, I'm not a fan of the numeric keypad on keyboards on a laptop. I would have rather have a centered keyboard with a speaker grill, and the main reason why is because the trackpad is centered, which means that because the keyboard is offset, it is really bad for muscle memory, which leads to a lot of the unwanted touches that Windows doesn't know how to handle. And then there's LG's bloatware when it comes to software. I mean, I'm not a fan of Windows 11 enough for that to already be part of my complaints, but that's not necessarily LG's fault. My problem is mostly that I hate getting McAfee warnings, and I'm also not a fan of LG's proprietary applications, not just for their poor aesthetics. For example, I hate getting a visual cue every time I press the caps lock on a computer that has a physical indicator. I've been asking for a way to disable this, just like you can turn the function keys into commands when you dig in through these menus. Last but not least, let's just say that even in my top-of-the-line version, performance was good. Not great. Navigation wasn't necessarily smooth 100% of the time, but in its defense, I only noticed the choppiness 5 to 10% of the time. Also, the claims of 16-hour battery life were not even close in regular use, but I'd say that it could last the full 8 hours of work, which is really not a problem and pretty much expected for this category of laptops. To conclude, let's just say that I'm a bit torn with this review, and it's mainly because the LG Gram SuperSlim may not be the perfect computer, but this is almost a showcase of what an ideal laptop should be. I honestly could care less if my machine is made of aluminum, for example, so long as it's strong enough to withstand the beating, and LG is proving that there is a better way to do this. My problem with this machine is mainly execution, in part because of its price, because even Apple is giving you a lot more display and performance for nearly the same or less money. And fine, I can't blame LG for how much Intel is lagging behind, but as one of the top display manufacturers in the world, I just cannot forgive 1080p displays at this price, and especially when Samsung and others have already gone beyond that. I have no problem in recommending this computer for anyone that cares more about display quality than resolution, in which this computer excels at, and also anyone looking for the lightest computer for on-the-go productivity. It's not a creator's machine, it's not a gamer's machine either. Sadly, the state of Windows is still that a pro machine pretty much is for spreadsheets, and in that regard, this is probably the most delightful computer I've carried in a while, but I won't lie, I cannot wait for Generation 2 of this laptop, as Generation 1 has its quirks. Let us know if you agree with my assessment in the comments down below, and while you're at it, follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. You can also follow me on my personal handles to see me actually enjoy how crazy slim this computer is. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.